Hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for all of the kind comments and well wishes for my daughter. Bailey appreciated those as well. I shared those with her. So, how is everyone doing? We're having quite a week here. Mars now has moved into Libra, but he was opposing Neptune, which, can, anytime Neptune's involved, there can be just illusion coming up, fear, not knowing, having a sense like we're stalled in the water kind of thing. And you can also get great inspiration from that aspect as well. So, we have the full moon in Pisces coming just before the equinox arrives. And Pisces is ultimately about unity, that we're all one, that we're all sparks of light, we're all pieces of the energy of creation, that our inner being are the deepest part of us. Our soul that we are is here on the planet, being that vessel, the channel, the instrument that the universe is experiencing itself in, that we all have that commonality, that we're all connected that way. And the way that we come together and recognize that we're all part of the same vibration, that we're all united, that we're all one, is by doing that within ourselves. And, one of the ways that you can tell that you're aligned with your inner being or your soul, the light that you are, the essence of creation that you are, is how happy you are, how satisfied you're feeling. Whenever we're having emotions, due to negative thinking, or it's always the case that we're out of alignment with the aspect of us that loves us purely and unconditionally, that we're somehow striving to be good enough to please that being. That's all just part of the illusion. So, with this full moon being at the last degree of Pisces, it's going to be most likely emotional. Full moons are typically emotional, but especially in a water sign, and especially at that last degree of Pisces. Pisces is also the sign that we look to for divine inspiration, connectivity, our intuitive and psychic gifts. So, when you're talking about having things come to light, or looking for that answer that you've been seeking, the long sought after answer is what Metatron is saying. Just know that realization, it could come through a dream too, because it's Pisces, but it may just come to you like you're, doing the dishes, or, driving along, listening to something, and all of a sudden it just comes into your mind. It's like when we talk about getting downloads, and I do downloads in our sessions and Metatron sessions with me. We always do downloads for people, but I know very well that at the time that I'm speaking the downloads doesn't mean that they're necessarily coming in and anchoring. A lot of times it's just our own divine timing. People can say the same truth to us 100 times and we believe it and we agree with it. But then all of a sudden one day, that realization, like, that's the kind of full moon that we're going to have. So it's interesting, the time of the full moon. So in London, it'll be on the 21st of September at 12:54 p.m. For Central Standard Time. That will be on the 20th of September at 6:54 p.m. and in Sydney, the 21st at 9:54 a.m. So there's a 9, right? The 5 and the 4 together. We're wrapping up a cycle, just like Pisces, last sign of the tropical zodiac, final degree of the tropical zodiac. So it's falling at 28 degrees in a few minutes of Pisces. And so anything that you have in those end degrees of signs, or beginning degrees of the signs or points in the chart, meaning like houses or the ascendant, that kind of thing, that will feel this full moon. But this is definitely a cycle ending for each of us, depending on where it's falling in your chart and really what's going on, or your points or planets at that degree, or conjunct that degree. That is going to be different for each of us. What's interesting is that Venus is in Mars' traditional rulership of Scorpio right now, and Mars is in Venus's rulership of Libra, and neither of them like those signs. Those are like some of their least favorite signs to be in. But because they're in one another's sign, they're in mutual reception. And so I feel like with the rest of the astrology, everything else that's going on, this could be like releasing old patterns in a relationship. And it doesn't mean romance. It's just like how we interact with the other. Could be romance too. But getting rid of the idea that it's selfish for us to want something new for ourselves, letting go of old paradigms of being responsible for each other in ways that we can't be responsible for everyone else's choices, or take responsibility for the life of another, taking care of someone else. We're going to have most likely revelations because of Venus being in Scorpio and Mars in Libra. That's like, what's the hidden, what's the underlying, and how do we bring that into balance? So this could also be in full moons. Typically it's the ending, so it could be the ending of relationships, friendships. I feel like I've been saying that for years now, honestly, but it's definitely more an energy of releasing than the new, especially with the 9. That's the final number. On to the next step, on to the upgrades. So I spoke with Metatron quite a bit about the astrology and what's happening now. A lot of people, in the last couple of months, in sessions with you guys, and just people that I know personally, so many people feel as if they don't know the next step. They don't know where life is taking them or where they're going to end up. And this is a great energy because of the equinox coming the next day, or like within 36 hours, I suppose. Yeah, I'm not going to try to do that math, but it's right after. This is a really good opportunity to set our sights higher and to feel inspired by the desires of our heart. When we're, answering the question for ourselves, like, what would I do if I could do anything? If there was no consideration of, the mundane, what would I choose to do? And then you make that statement, like, this is what I would love to do. And then the thought comes, but what about this? Listen to that voice. Don't stay in that energy, but just be cognizant of the but. Of what he's showing me is like a hurdle that we've just constructed right in front of that path. Be conscious of listening to what your hurdles are, because they will be coming up in this energy. And when we're talking about coming to union within and harmony within, it's always got to be that we are in that place of love and acceptance and satisfaction with the self before we can move forward. When we have when we say like, oh, I'll be happy, I'll be satisfied, I'll be fine once I have this in my life, it doesn't work that way. It's being in that place of contentment and satisfaction and happy with ourselves and the way that things are going, that then aligns us to the vibration of what it is that we would like to draw in. It's like if we're, lonely and we're looking for a relationship, something outside of us, from that place of desperation, we most likely will find someone willing to be in a relationship with us, but they will treat us like we're someone who is super needy, and desperate for something outside of ourselves. And with Mars and Scorpio and Venus and Libra, that mutual reception energy that we have going on, a lot of, obvious is the way he's showing it, signs of codependence are going to come to the fore. I believe firmly that everyone's born that way, codependent. Everyone is looking outside of themselves for love and appreciation, attraction, and it's really within. That is the key. And the way to make it through, especially with a very emotional full moon like this. And remember, the moon card in Pisces, or the moon in the tarot, the moon card is the Pisces moon, where there isn't like clarity, we're kind of just taking steps and trusting, having faith, and really recognizing with, as far as like source energy in Pisces, that we are in the multiverse of abundance, that this existence of creation is abundance and plenty and wants to meet us where we are. We just need the attractor there, that place of quiet satisfaction and contentment and hope. And I'm not saying, if you're in dire straits financially, that, we just wish ourselves into a different reality. But if we're focusing on the worry of it, and how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that, rather than trusting that what is meant for us is that we're being guided to it, that it is also looking for us, that it's going to come together. That's how we manifest that happening. Not staying in the lower Pisces of worry or, but putting, I almost said the hurdles, the butt hurdles. And what was I going to say about with the emotions, with the full moon in Pisces, it can be really hard when we're having those days where it's just dense, heavy emotional energy. If you can force yourself, because it's really just we're forcing our ego, and I've caught myself in that place where I'm hearing the guidance, like to turn on the music and start singing, and I can feel that struggle with the ego that doesn't want to put down the toys in the sandbox and go play on the swing set, likes it, I mean, we're all like that. Part of the ego's getting something out of that victimhood. Everybody has that within us. We all have the propensity. But if you can make yourself go to that space where you're dancing around the kitchen or, doing what it is that you enjoy doing, and turn on, somebody inspirational, Eckhart Tolle, Esther Hicks. She's great when the way that she speaks about the point of attraction and her explanation of it. I find I've been listening to her a lot lately. I find her quite helpful. So I hope that I said the times, because I had started this video a couple of times before this. But I did speak to Metatron rather than going into, like exactly the placements. This energy, when you look at Venus, wait, I got to make sure I'm not looking at the Equinox chart. When you look at like Venus and Scorpio in that opposition to Uranus, and then their square to Saturn, this really is about us like setting ourselves apart, being the ones who carry the hope and the inspiration, the light in the darkness, being different than what's going on out there and what the talk is in the ethers. And then, when we talk about all of humanity being able to come into that space of unity and recognizing that we are more alike than we are different, or that the like within us, the commonality, the light within us is stronger than any of the illusion, than any of the shadow that is out there. That always begins individually. It has to be, and it isn't like beams coming in from the sun and changing the Schumann resonance. That doesn't make people awaken. But that's like the earth going through what she needs to go through right now to do her purging and cleanse and get her ready for what's coming next. But individually, awakening, recognizing that we're one with the energy of creation, the spark of creation, joy, that it is inherent with us. Sandalphon is saying that joy is inherent. It is within each one of us. It may be buried and covered up by negative emotions, by unforgiveness or blame, victimhood, but the joy is there if we can just allow ourselves to accept the lesson and forgive ourselves for having taken on that kind of thing. But this is the challenge, like Metatron and Sandalphon were saying when I was getting ready for the video. This is the big leaks. This is why you came here. You signed up for this special time in history, and to show yourself that you could be set apart, that you could hold that vibration when the odds were against you, he's saying. Sandalphon is saying. And then Metatron was talking about being on the edge of glory. That I remember the first time he said to me, it's always darkest before the dawn. I was like, oh. I was in that darkest attitude. But if we can also hold the vibration in our emotions, if our emotions can be in that space of joy and plenty and abundance, regardless of how we're trying to manage the bills. So we can be practically working out ways. I'm just using money as an example because that's what he was talking about a lot today. So I'm guessing that people are struggling there. But, if we can he's saying that moment of clarity, of balance, like the practical, dealing with the practical, but being mindful of where our emotions are and not being in that place of hopelessness and worry. But if you can pull yourself out of that and be in that space of trust and harmony with the inner being who knows that you're at the edge of glory. And then also Pisces is like the depths of our creative inspiration. So for those of you looking to write a book or start a new job or just new ideas for your business, or I don't know, where you want to move, this is also great energy for that as well. And then just being present, open, and hopeful and inviting of, he's saying, teammates, soul family members who are on the same track, who are willing to help you, that you're worthy and deserving of help. If we could be mindful of the conversation that we're talking, however we're talking to ourselves is defining the emotional resonance that we have. So if we can change that story to one of hopeful cooperation and reconciliation, and not being estranged from partners or walling ourselves off because of fear of partnership, because of what's gone on in the past. And anytime that we're feeling out of balance and our emotions are, in the trenches, so to speak, then we are out of alignment with our desire, our heart's desire. And then, with Pisces, we deal a lot with boundaries. And I've heard different people referring to this lately. You are a divine sovereign being. Nothing can change that except maybe what a part of our subconscious believes. You only need to say it once. I am sovereign. I have the divine birthright of sovereignty. And then if you feel like you're having problems with, trespassing in your borders, be careful what you're shooting out, because that will open you up. If you're sending out psychic attacks, even to a politician, still works. Still same thing. And then, I ask for help with boundaries, especially in this energy. So I really encourage everybody, because it's such an ungrounded energy that we have right now, and that does have a lot to do with the Schumann resonance, to really focus on being centered and grounded and feeling your vibration in the root chakra going down into the earth. If you can, be in that place when you do reach the depths of the inner being, because in order to manifest, we need to be connected through the root, harmoniously. And then, if we can, I feel like a lot of us are going to come to places of clarity. Like I'm asking for a caregiver. I don't really understand the hang up, because I know my daughter wants to. So I'm just, what 21-year-old wants to spend all their time with their mommy? But if we can, if there's something that has been held up, let's say, or it feels like it's being held up, then having that clarity of what it is, that's the holdup. There's always something that we're getting out of the negative. And I know people don't like to hear that, but there is a part of us that sees oh, this is the best way to go about it. And there's always really messed up reasons for that. And, that's what I do in my healing sessions, is getting into the subconscious and finding out what is the gain? Why is the struggle necessary in order to have the gain? And everybody's got different reasons. A lot of times it just is that old martyrdom story. We were making sacrifices to gods before there was religion. So it's kind of like within us, we leave the light, we begin incarnating in order to come back to the realization that we never left the light, that we are always intrinsically connected to the light. We can't be separate from the light. And until we come back into that space of harmony, the ego will keep throwing up things oh no, there's this, there's that. You know what I mean? They're all just part of the illusion, but it is important to look into the subconscious reasons of why things are going the way that they are. And Pluto is going to be square to Mercury for this. So when you're talking about the depths of the subconscious and then coming to clarity in the conscious mind, that's that Pluto square Mercury. And then really, like I said, in acceptance and contentment, not even so much about the situations and circumstances that are playing out, but within. When I get on the phone with someone and they start quoting, let's just say Fox News scenarios to me, it's no, that's I don't watch any of those. I don't, any of them. I think people think that I lean one way or the other. Don't want it either way. I don't put a big emphasis on politicians or politics, but if you can shut that out, that fear campaigning is what Metatron is talking about, and social conditioning, because it really does pull people apart and makes us believe that we're separate. If we can just be within the self. And I feel like a lot of times people are dissatisfied and, not happy with their life the way it's going. They're not aligned with the desires of their heart and believing and trusting and working toward that promise of fruition. Then they need sensationalism and drama. And they can find it a lot of places these days. So really being careful with that. Mercury, the South Node, well, I'll get to that. Creating conditions for abundance, and that is that emotional space. He's saying that being aligned with our inner being, then we have that sense of safety within, and we're inviting abundance into ourselves. We're secure, we're safe, we're just flowing, riding the waves, surfing along, and then the more comes to us. It matches that vibration. So on the 26th then, once we move out of the full moon energy, the moon in Gemini and Saturn in Aquarius and Mars in Libra will be in a harmonious trine. So this should bring even more answers and clarity if they don't come around for you over the full moon energy. That definitely will bring clarity, and it'll also show for business or whatever partnership whether that's viable, whether that is going to be able to last, or if there needs to be a change in the terms or the conditions of the relationship, or maybe it just needs to go. And then remember, Mercury is turning retrograde on the 27th. He will be at 25 degrees of Libra when he does that, and he will move back until the 10th of October. He will move out of shadow in November. So I never think with Mercury, so many people don't even know if their Mercury was out of bounds or retrograde when they were born. I don't buy into the whole thing of, freaking out. It's Mercury retrograde. This will, because it's Libra, most likely have to do with partnerships, not necessarily romantic, but it most likely will involve others in some way for each of us. And then on Halloween, Mars is going to go into Scorpio. So that's interesting. Mars, then I want to just talk about that he's moving through Scorpio. Okay. So, for all of November, part of December, making his way through Scorpio, he is going to then meet up with the South Node of Fate. Oh, I'm just like, don't let the light do anything. He's going to meet up with the South Node of Fate in mid-December. I believe then that is what is going to set us up, because the nodes will move January 19th. The South Node will move into Scorpio. So think back to Saturn in Scorpio, and now the year is escaping me. Oh, yeah, like 2015. I wish I had looked that up. I mean, I'm a Scorpio. I don't know why I don't remember that. It was such a big deal for me. But I can't remember the years now. Maybe I'm blanking for a reason, but I'm going to stick with 2015 because that's what he said. The South Node in Scorpio is going to be serious stuff, people. Remember that while the South Node is in Scorpio, and that'll last about 19 months, he's answering to Pluto at the end degrees of Capricorn, Saturn sign of Capricorn, while Saturn is in the sign of Society. It's a big deal. It's a really big thing. But we still have the eclipses to get through, and we'll get on to that. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up for that. But yeah, so Halloween will be interesting. Or Samhain, I should say. So I think that's it. I've gotten through. Oh, I did want to mention that the Sabian symbol for the last degree of Pisces is the light, not a light, but the light passing through a prism. That is the way to think about the different dimensions. And what's another? Anyway, they're not floors, that just end and then we go up. It doesn't work like that. Think of it as the light moving through a prism. And that's all of the different timelines and dimensions and existences. This is like the veil. It's the last degree of Pisces is the fixed star sheet, which isn't spelled like the English word sheet, but I think it is kind of funny because it's the veil. That like thin line between our world, our existence, and what's going on in the paranormal universe. So yeah, I mean, this is a big one. So it's got, it's aligned with conjunct Neptune, and then Pallas Athena there, and then Nessus. Like they're all there together through the second half of Pisces. So really pay attention to your dreams too. Try to keep a journal, because dreams are going to be super intense for everybody, even if you don't have placements there. So if you keep a journal by the bed, just so you can write it out and look over it later. But yeah, so anyway, you guys, I think it's going to be awesome. And the last time that there was a full moon here is when the Council for the Galactic Federation of Light showed up on my patio. So I like it. I think it's going to be really good. And I think that, we still know ocean events are coming. It's tough to say with full moons. I don't really know that timing. I've never heard a teaching on it either. But let me just briefly mention the equinox. So I just did universal time for the equinox. It's the 22nd at 7:21 p.m. And I ran the chart for that. And what's interesting is that the moon, or the sun, right as it passes into Libra, it's going to come conjunct Mars. And it's in the 6th house. So this is going to be something that we're manifesting in the practical. The vertex is right there with Mars too, but I think that that's, again, partnership stuff that we're going to be going through during the Mercury retrograde, just bringing attention to that. The moon that day will be in Aries, opposing Mercury. Mercury is actually at the same place, like he's 1 degree different than he is for the full moon. So really the charts are so similar for the equinox and the full moon. But the full moon, because it's 21 minutes past, that's a 3. So that's new beginnings, fresh start, right? And people coming together to help one another and, you know, sharing that sense of community. So, all right, everybody. It was so nice talking to you today, and I'm really happy to join you guys for what's it called? The premieres. Yeah, I really like being able to do that. So that's fun for me too. So thank you everybody for who makes time to join us during the premieres. And I'm sending all of you so much love and compassion. Remember to be in a compassionate space for yourself always. You know, no matter what things go awry and we lose it a little bit, coming back, forgiving ourselves, coming back to that place of compassion and acceptance for ourselves is what brings everything in. By the way, magenta is the law of attraction. So that's why I'm wearing this, because we're talking about abundance and bringing things to fruition and like attracting like. So yeah, you in that space of honoring yourself, trusting that you're worthy and deserving, believing you're worthy and deserving of all good things, brings them in. All right, everybody, sending you so much love. Bye-bye.